this point, I just get the feeling these two are just coming in here to destroy the other one.
Yeah.
I just feel like, you know, there's, like you say, there's that, it's not beef, but there's that desire to win against the others. You know, Joystick said it yesterday, they always struggle against BDS and they want to overcome that. And I just get the feeling that regardless of anything else that's on the line, and there is a lot on the line, as Fresh explained, particularly for BDS, there's a lot to play for here. You know, there's more than that at stake as well, and I think it's going to be a good game.
You listen to those kind of 35 points that they gain from finishing first. I think it's more than 35, I think. It's extra points they get for finishing in first place. That is going to make the difference of BDS. So Virtus.pro, I think they're like the third in global standings at the minute. No, second, actually, they are. So they are pretty much guaranteed to be there. For BDS, because they didn't make it in stage one, positioning means everything in the league play, regardless of what you may then go on to get when it comes round to the major itself. The big question for me in this game, though, Tim, is unstoppable force versus immovable object. Shyko versus VP. As Fabian and the Des were saying, they just don't make mistakes on the side of VP. But Shyko is the kind of team that can force mistakes out of the other side because he is just so good. In fact, it was on this map yesterday where he was tearing an absolute new one through the opposition. And I'm just thinking to myself, can he force a way through for his team? Will the rest of BDS leave him on the pedestal by himself and really struggle to get into this game? Or will VP just completely run them over? It is so hard to call, but it begins right now here in round one of Cafe with BDS starting on the defense.
Let's get this party started then, and I think it is going to start with a bang. I think, as I said, these two teams, I'm expecting real explosive play between them, particularly from BDS. VirtusPro, as we know, sometimes a little bit sort of more steady of a pace. Lem's just opening up all the windows here, just making it uncomfortable, and I think just signalling the sort of game that we can expect to come here. That's going to be a little tasty window presence from BDS. Shyko down in Bakery as well on the Soulish. Just going to be looking for those bottom floor drones. Here comes the peak from Ilems. Nobody's going to be pushing that way at the moment. But BDS certainly coming out to start this one with an aggressive opening.
They are, and unsurprisingly, Shyko's just daring someone to step the wrong way. I'm sure he'll hear the Claymore outside as well and know that they are prepared for him to come charging around, potentially looking in towards windows, just try and force him back towards site, and that's exactly where he has gone away to. One thing I will commend BP for, because we always talk about it when it goes bad here, you're against the Solus, and they've only just lost their first drone at the top of red. They've kept every single one of them alive here. Sure, a lot of them outside the building, but it's good to not see teams just throwing drones away, trying to chase down a roamer that realistically you're probably not going to catch.
Oh, it's just going to be opening up that second hatch. That's a lot of the basics done for VirtusPro. Time is always a factor that we watch for with this team particularly. It's not always been their strongest suit playing against the clock, so something that they need to be aware of. Still plenty of time left for them in this round. They've got themselves established up on the top floor. They need to be thinking about Ilems in Piano so far. He's still on stage. He hasn't been pressured. He's just being allowed to play there, and until they get rid of him, they're going to struggle to continue this push from the red side.
It's this dance really between Likafak and Shepard as well on the white window. Chance of a run out coming on through, and also Lem's right up against the window, but misses the headshot as well. That's a real stinger, and now he's stuck. There are two players, one on either window. He can't really move, but it's a little bit like a stalemate until realistically someone gets on this south window or forces him to move. From red, I think he's being shot.
Ilems is just coming under so much pressure right now, and sure, that's going to be it, but no, he manages to come away with a kill, manages to get Joystick even though they know exactly where he is. He somehow managed to wriggle his way in behind the small bar. They're not going to move him here, they know exactly where he is, but VP are just ducking away from the fight a little bit until Pasha manages to find the angle, but look at the time that's been wasted by Ilems.
It's so frustrating. It's like playing cat and mouse. It's like Tom and Jerry. You just never see the cat actually catch the mouse until finally he's shut down, but the damage has been done. Got the kill, burnt through a couple of drones, burnt through a solid 60 seconds. Real big play at the very start of this round, and now you might see other members of BDS unleashed to get a bit more mobile, like Shyko, who has worked his way up white. He finds one, gets traded out by Pasha. In fact, it's a direct trade between the two, but elsewhere the hit's actually coming on through. It's always inside a bathroom. Sees the head, but doesn't pull the trigger. Finally pulls the shot, doesn't find the man. It's absolute chaos. In comes Shepard as well, gets shot in the back too. 2. BDS have got the shutdown on this one. They've just been too hard to pin down, and they'll find round 1.
LM's, I think, doing the majority of the work that's won them that round there, just burning. So I commented on it just before the fight kicked off that they haven't, you know, it was halfway through the round. They hadn't put LM's under any pressure at all to move him out of piano. And then he just did a fantastic, I think at that point, he's sort of thinking they've left him so long. Had that been earlier in the round, he may well have looked to escape from that position and think, you know, I don't want to leave my team short-handed for so much of the round. But given that we were already at the sort of 1 minute 20 mark, I can think, you know, in his mind he's thinking, you know what, I might as well just firm this. I might as well just stick it and see what I can get. If I can take another 20-30 seconds, you know, we've almost closed out the round. He manages to get joystick even though they knew exactly where he was, and then burns all the way down to 45 seconds. Great round from Ilems. We saw him a little bit quiet at the start of the day yesterday, really came into his own towards the end of the game, and then he seems to be continuing that trend so far. It's only 1 round in, but that was impressive play.
It was beautiful stuff, and if we're seeing that kind of team play coming out of BDS, today's conversation could be a very different one compared to their one against M&M yesterday, because yesterday was realistically the Shyko show. He was, at least with all of us going into map 3, very much on course to break the best of 3 record, but ended up with a pretty quiet game on Skyscraper that saw him falling just short of being able to get there, but still had, what was it, 43 kills or something across the series? Absolutely ludicrous. So today, a big question for me as well was, are we going to see the rest of BDS wake up today and join him in trying to get this victory? Because as we've already said, it means an absolute shed load to this team to get those extra points.
And, you know, what better contribution can we see from everyone than 1 kill each in that first round? So, as you say, that's maybe going to continue. Brede is going to take down one of his own Echo drones that had been captured by the Brava. So, just removing that, it's not the sort of utility you want in enemy hands, realistically. Just a little pressure coming towards Dining and VIP as well. Always just playing onto that double window. Going to head upstairs to try and support Dan. They've got the Ram, so definitely wanting to get in and rip up that mid floor, but going to have to deal with Likafak and Renshiro before they can.
Absolutely, and it's more than just that. It's also worrying about players that are off around the map like Alems, who can still descend down stairwells and cause absolute chaos if they aren't respecting that he could be around. Right sort of idea. Joystick coming in on the drone here as well, just to make sure he can still walk on through. Gonna take out one of those dread mines here and keep the march on forward continuing. Coat checks confirmed to be clear. Bar looks pretty clear as well. There should be in a spot to get some control, but Tim, we all know that doesn't guarantee anything. Shyko finding Pasha as one dread mine goes unchecked and makes full use of that near sight.
Really, really good stuff from Shyko, though, just taking his opportunity to get in there and get himself a kill. Renshiro has been cleared out from the main floor, but Elems hasn't on the top floor. He manages to pick up always, and once again, BDS just keeping themselves in that man advantage. They showed us a great performance on Cafe yesterday, and it's no surprise that they've picked it again. It's a map they're obviously very comfortable on, and so far, with only a minute left to go, Likafak's going to get himself one here if he moves a little bit quicker. Dan doesn't really know which way to go, and there it is. Doesn't manage to trigger the boogie either, so that's going to be no work done for the Ram. Brede with 2 at the end, and that's going to be BDS, a very solid kitchen defense.
Just bullied all around the map there. It really feels Virtus.pro. No matter what they tried to do, whether it was pushing in through front door, they had Shyko ready to swing off the back of the dread mine. They had vertical control going for them, and VP just looking a little bit a bit slow to come into the game here, a bit slow to deal with problems that get identified, and BDS are just very happy playing in that extra gear, maybe sitting in 4th while you still got VirtusPro in 2nd, and just picking them off one at a time from every which way possible around the map. It's really good stuff from BDS. I mentioned earlier on about wanting to see a team performance. We're seeing that. Outside of Brede being on 3, if one of those kills went to Renshiro, every player has had their involvement at 2 kills apiece.
Going to be reading room then for the what will likely be not the final defensive site, but the final in the rotation. I would expect to see them then move back through their original choices, BDS, once this site is done. Shyko is going to be down on the ground floor once again. Top floor will likely be hotly contested as well. We don't have the Ram being brought along by VP this time, but the sledge will be brought by always, so definitely will be looking for that control above. You can open up all of Cocktail, get get really good views down into reading room, force the defenders away, and that's going to give you a lot of what you need to get that diffuser down. But for me, VirtusPro, there's two things they need to do. They need to move a little bit more confident and quickly, i.e. get yourself into the top floor and start that sweep across in a more organised fashion. They also need to be winning the gunfights. They're going to fail to do it again as Lems opens things up onto Pasha.
It's just the aggression coming out from BDS, and not even strictly in taking gunfights. That's definitely helping. Lems finds a second as well. He's literally picking them up for free here and for fun. Decimating one-on-one window, dropping and finding the next, and you've had Shyko dancing around inside of North Bait to feed information. Also had him now spring his way up red stairs. They're just causing absolute headaches for Virtus.pro all over the shop here.
Peek is going to come from white stairs. Surely Lems thinks about it, but no, dips out. He heard the procs alarm, but I think something just scared him off there. Always is able to move into Cocktail then. Going to be supported by Shepard on the drone and can start opening up the verticals. Out goes the flank drone as well. They've got two players dead to watch them. Shyko, he adds a third to that list, picking up Joystick with a headshot, and this is not looking good for Virtus.pro. They do still have that sledgehammer in hand, which is an important one, but if BDS recognise that Shepard's outside at the minute, there's an opportunity potentially for them to really put pressure on the lone player inside of the map up on top floor.
It is. It's, again, I mean, the start of this round really orchestrated how the rest would play for me. With Lems getting those 2 kills, it's basically a done and dusted round unless you saw some kind of massive comeback from Virtus.pro. A 2v4 though, with a lot of time still to play. Again, it feels largely impossible, but every opportunity they can pull something off here. We've seen what these guys are capable of, and always is going to start things off getting rid of the Demon King himself. Shyko taken offline.
A good first kill for Always. 1 minute left to go, so certainly time for Virtus.pro here. He's not going to get any joy down inside of reading now, as you can see from the silhouettes. BDS have backed themselves away. They're going to pick up Shepard on the cam, so they will know that they've got 2 inside of the map now. And it's kind of just a case of BDS just seem to be holding on for the time being. It's just, you know, let's not overcommit to anything. Let's force Virtus.pro to make a move. Force them to come and win this round, really.
Really want to try to make the site uncomfortable to be inside up here as well, to force them into slightly more uncomfortable positions to be sitting in off the site itself, maybe inside a utility. You can see Breda getting a little bit of chip damage and runs into the fire there, I think. Down a little bit lower, so they've done a little bit of chip, but it's about now finding kills. Lems almost managing to find his man in Shepard, but he's largely ignoring Lems here, just turning back on towards the site as they know this clock is running down and it waits for no one.
Gonna have to go for it here. Always with an important kill onto Breda. Can now take the upstairs cover to help the plant go down. Unsuccessful. Just managed in the nick of time. Shepard gets that diffuser down, but it just really doesn't matter as Lems and Leakafak are there to get the job done. A closer round, but still another good one from BDS.
Absolutely that. I mean, yes, very close. They almost managed to pull it back from that 2 versus 4. Just really in the dying few seconds, that's when VP are forced to take action. And it's always going to work against you when you can't do anything except hold down the F key, or the round is done and dusted. Good first quarter coming out from BDS. Now we get to go for the reset and play through those 3 sites again, starting with Bar and Cocktail up on the top floor.
BDS absolutely running away with things at the minute. If this continues, it could be another quick map. I'm thinking back to that second map of Wolves and M&M on Chalet. It was gone in the blink of an eye, and this one is certainly passing us by a rapid pace as well. Lems is going to be going for the same tricks by the looks of things. Open up all the windows, make it difficult to know where to look, where to check. He's had joy in 2 out of 3 rounds so far of picking up that entry kill, and Lems certainly looking like he's hungry for more. 5-1 at the minute. Absolutely unstoppable here on Cafe.
Yeah, it's really wanting to see a couple more big players. You know, Dan, top player in the series yesterday, 24-12. He sat at absolute beast of a performance. We saw it from quite a few of their players. I think even Pasha, who was sat in the mid-table, had a huge couple of maps as well, coming out absolutely huge, but have been really neutered so far by the side of BDS, who just don't want to let them into the game, and understandably so. Let's see how things change here, though. It is going to be this battle once again around Piano. It's really been a Lems' domain so far, making the other side dance to his tune, and I want to see Virtus.pro, at least in the early round, be a little more careful around what they're playing for. You know, they've been very conservative with drones. I've mentioned that a couple of times. This round, maybe a touch less so, but don't be afraid to use them to get that information so you aren't running blind into a firefight, or, in this case, repelling blind into a firefight, and you can potentially force a Lems away, who, so far as I've said, has had freedom to do whatever he pleases inside of Piano.
Yeah, the bigger thing for me for VirtusPro here is get pressure on LMs early. You know, don't leave it too long. As you said, get that information, but act confidently on it and just get in and cause him pressure because he will move. You know, if he thinks there's still 2 minutes of the round to play, he doesn't want to give away his life for free. But once he gets past that halfway mark, it's easier then to think, you know what, my job's pretty much done. I can just play for a couple of kills here. So I think if they can get that early pressure in, they will see LMs drop back, and it might just change the shape of things. And that's exactly what's happened. LMs has had to drop the hatch. He's moved away. They've opened the wall. This is better from VirtusPro.
Now the question is, do you go like circling after these players that are playing on this second floor? You know, you've got 2 players there. You've got Alems, you've got Leakyfat, both with C4s in back pocket and ready to go. I don't know if Alems has used his or if it's pre-placed, but they've already been deployed. So without any pressure coming on the downstairs, these 2 players can do essentially whatever they please. It might not be challenging them on the windows, but it is challenging them just as they get inside the building. And VP could still come unstuck by that.
It's going to be sending the Rotero into the corner there. It's actually going to be shocked out by the bulletproof camera. So will at least be inactive for a short time. We're going to have a little bit of utility taken out there as well as they move in. We're going to have the Thatcher EMPs going off. That's going to allow them to open up bathroom wall. This is better progress from VirtusPro. They've got themselves a beachhead. They've got themselves established, and they get themselves an opening kill, picking up Renshiro. Tough game for Renshiro so far. LMs, he's battling out on those white stairs. We've got kills going in either direction, but Shepherds picks up LMs, and that leaves us now in a 2 versus 3 as Brede gets going on site.
He strikes and almost finds another, but they find the shot first. Leakyfat coming up from behind here as well. Doesn't know where to look over the top of this balcony. Going to find himself done in there. Does get the trade off. But VP finally get over the finish line just by slowing things down a tickle there, Tim, and playing a bit more structured and controlled. They've really shut down BDS's attempt to disrupt them.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what they needed to do. They've got sort of caught up in the maelstrom of BDS's approach to begin with, which is just sort of getting spun round in all directions and not knowing which way is up. But they've come into round 4 there. They've said, right, we know that LMs is going to be in piano. We know he's going to try and cause a nuisance. Let's get him forced out of there early, which they did. They then didn't go chasing. They didn't go, getting overexcited, thinking they need to rush in and find kills. They just got themselves established inside the map. It's almost a case there of, it's back to that classic VirtusPro style. Don't worry about what the enemy team are doing. You've got your plan. Just go in and do that. If there is anything where they are directly in your way, then force them out like they did with the LMs. Their plan then was get into piano, get control, open bathroom, move across, find kills. And it worked fantastically well for them. So I want to see more of that in round 5. Get yourself a plan. You're attacking onto kitchen. We saw them bring the ram along last time. Pasha's brought it along this time. Go in and just get that middle floor control. Start at top, work your way down, force them out, and then use your gadgets.
We'll see how this plays out in round 5, and the continuation for VP. Like they've got the gridlock on side here as well, along with a lot of vertical breach too with the sledge and the ram on side here. The ability with the gridlock, of course, to just completely lock down these stairwells will prevent some of the roaming that we've seen coming out of BDS. Players that are trying to get quite slippy. Players like Shyko, Lem's previously playing that sort of spot. But given the operators on the BDS lineup this time around, I don't think you'll see too much of that. Aruni now, of course, a 1 speed, quite loud, quite slow at getting around the map. Don't expect we'll see too many of them off-site, except for maybe Shyko, who, understandably, has been a little bit of a demon whenever he's got out and about around the map.
I'd like to see Pasha on the ram potentially using this red stairs window. We've seen it previously. You can get that gadget in there without too much of a risk. You just launch it in through the window, it'll set itself on the floor, and you can rip that whole thing up, which is somewhere that you are going to want to open up anyway. So it can save you a little bit of time, and also then if Pasha loses his life at some point, his work is already done. So, that's maybe something that I'd like to see VirtusPro thinking about. But for the time being, they've got themselves established, as I asked for, top floor, mid floor, under their control, getting hatch open. Let's see those verticals getting open. There we go. Pasha just watching, wants to take that out at a specific point, so not exposing his team to any unnecessary angles.
The same way how some do that with Salmers, they'll let the first one go off just to give them the sight line and then destroy the next, so it's not a a hole someone can jump out of, for example. It's not giving them more angles to play with. So completely understandable that you only want certain parts opened up here and able to do a little bit of work. But the vast majority of this floor has been opened up and straight through the rafters. Always finds Leakyfax, strikes true on towards the water. Not super ideal if you were playing in towards a bunch of smoke, so there are only 2 in the back pocket of Pasha here that they've got to worry about.
Again, VP just not playing into BDS's game. They have their game plan, they're executing it, and they are not being moved from it, and it's going well for them so far. Alems from the bottom of Brown Stairs, just trying to watch towards white, but he's going to have to dip back towards sight. They need to be very careful here of those verticals that have been opened up. Shepard manages to get one. Alems should not have gone back for a second try at that one. Dan has the opportunity to get the diffuser down. Looks like he's going to stick it. It's all up to Renshiro and Shyko. There's a little bit of information, but they're playing against the verticals now. They've no choice but to be in sight and try to find these. Shyko picks up one, cannot find a second, as always, is there for the trade and the final kill. VP take a second round after getting that diffuser down, and that was much, much better from them.
I think, again, earlier on I said they were stuck in second gear, BDS were in fourth. You've really seen them start to shift up through them now as well. Those last couple of rounds, VP looked like that immovable object that I mentioned back at the start. And it doesn't matter what kind of effort you see coming out of BDS in these last 2 rounds, VP have just really got things figured out. So to end out the half, we're going to mining and fireplace here. And really, with the choice of sites, you maybe expect BDS to go to one of their primary 2, but no, they're sticking fast and true to those same 3 site rotations. And here, this is a great chance to equalize things at 3 apiece. And I think VirtusPro will be delighted to have 3 attacking rounds on Cafe.
I'd agree. Yeah, I would absolutely agree. Coming in, I think they're going to feel like they've got a fairly strong chance. But BDS will be very good on the attack of Cafe, make no mistake about it. So, VirtusPro, this is a very important round for them to win. I think 4-2 half for BDS will lead more than likely to a map win for them. But we will see how that second half goes. So, up on to the top floor setup for a mining hold. So, they're going to, again, be looking to keep hold of this top floor. We saw the damage that VirtusPro were almost able to do when attacking onto Reading Room. They did manage to get the diffuser down. It was Shepard who planted in that case, but Leakyfax and Alems were able to mop that up. So I think from VirtusPro we'll see more of the same. And again, it's as I've said, get that game plan in mind, stick to it. This is what we're doing. We don't really care what BDS do. We're going to get top floor control, and then we're going to work our way down towards site.
And not forgetting as well, this has largely been without Dan and Joystick's involvement, right? 0-4 and 1-4. I commented earlier on that Dan especially was absolutely huge in their previous series. And even without him showing up to the races, you're still looking at the others on side. You know, even Shepard, bless him, who historically has always been the fall guy, really, for old school Empire. He was the guy running into sight and holding down F and often being C4'd for his troubles. Whereas here, he's getting himself involved in a more flex position and contributing towards the kills. And Always and Pash have really been doing the heavy lifting to get these last 2 rounds on board.
Not got themselves inside of the map yet. Not a major problem. Just means that they're not rushing. They are going to open up that castle barricade, which is going to make it a lot trickier for Alems to keep himself in position here. Going to take a lot of damage from a nade there as well. Will be finished off by the second. Going to be Always to find that kill. That cigar shop open. And VirtusPro once again doing a good job. We need to get top floor. We've got this sticking point. How do we solve it? That's how we do it. And they can now move across.
That's it. Still a couple of players to worry about up here on the top floor, but the drones are rolling on through and feeding this information. But be careful of the mirror window here as well. He's got to be quick about this and we'll get away with it. That really is going to force Renshi to back away from this one. Tosses out a C4, but I think as every single player on BDS is experiencing this round, there are just drones everywhere. They're like rats, Tim.
Ranchero is going to manage to pick up one. Doesn't matter that the mirror window has been taken away, but VP commit. Joystick manages to find his second kill of the game, takes him down for the trade. Shyko finds Always. Ooh. Shyko finds Joystick. That's 2 kills for him, and that puts BDS back in the driving seat. Dan just taking a little bit of chip damage, manages to find his man. Levels things up 2 versus 2 now on the man count. 50 seconds left to go. VP have got top floor. They've got a little bit of utility that they can work with as well. Dan just getting a little bit over-eager there, going to run into his own breaching charge.
I did wonder for a second, I was like, I swear you just put a breaching charge there. Oh, he did, yeah, wow, what the hell's going on? Go figure. 2v2 though, still a little bit of time to play with on 30 seconds on the clock, and we've got all the fire, all the smoke, everything still in the back pocket of Shepard, so that can be a really valuable tool, both of them, to help open things up a little bit here, restrict the angles from which they can be challenged. But truthfully, Tim, they have to go now. There are only 20 seconds to play with.
Going to be very difficult here for VP. BDS starting to lock it down, but Brede uncharacteristically misses a few shots. Likafak has an opportunity though. He finds the first. It's 1v1. 7 seconds left to go. Dan does not have diffuser in hand. He's going to have to find his man. And Likafak, he's just holding tight. He's just sitting in the corner. He knows he just needs to let that clock tick down. That's what he does. And BDS secure a 4-2 half.
Good stuff, good stuff. And again, another pretty close round coming out of it. We've seen a couple of those really for both teams where we've seen really dominant rounds, 2 of them for either side, a couple of close rounds coming through, but ultimately it's BDS that come out, as you say, with the 4-2. Now things get interesting because they're attacking into their map pick, and I've commented on it a couple of times. Generally, teams should be very proficient at attacking their own map pick. So I'd hope to see here they've got some really cool ideas in the back pocket. Already we're seeing it a little bit with the potential Carly coming out from Alems. He has picked it up a couple of times throughout the series, and in fact, yesterday, if you remember, it was Brede on the Monty marching his way forwards into Bakery, and Alems getting a very comfortable couple of kills on the Carly, just really without having to do much in the round. So a very real threat on this map, and VP have got to respect that.
Absolutely. I mean, you've only got to look at yesterday. 5 successful attacks for BDS on this map. It was 5-1 half when they were on the attack against M&M, who just couldn't keep up. So VP, I'm sure, will likely have poured over that VOD today. They'll be prepped, planned and prepared, but it's not going to be an easy one for them. VirtusPro said themselves yesterday in the interview, Joystick, you know, we struggled to play against BDS. We've got a little bit of a mental block against the French teams, and, you know, BDS seemed to be a hill that we struggled to get over a lot of the time. So, you know, they were looking forward to the opportunity to try and practice, to try and, you know, erase that form against this team, but it's not going to get easy here.
It is not. I mean, truthfully, every team struggles against either of these two. Yeah, they are undisputedly the 2 best teams that we currently have in the European League. That's why they are number 1 and number 2, already guaranteed and locked in their spot to go to the major. And as a reminder again, they are playing here for a difference in points towards SI. Global standings keep on tallying up through the year, and based on your total number of points at the end of the year, the top 20 teams are invited. And just as a reminder, the difference between those two is 150 to 130 points. So not a massive difference there, but as we've already commented on, for BDS, it is potentially a world of difference. They missed out in stage 1 on going to the major, therefore they lost a massive opportunity at getting points and securing their ticket to SI. That 20 points could be all the difference when you come around and looking at all the other teams around the world who are also fighting just to get enough points to get over that threshold.
Well, that's it. It's all relative, isn't it? You know, you look at it and you say 20 points isn't that much, but I tell you now, if you miss out on SI by 10 points, then 20 points is an awful lot. It's all relative to the position. Dan just going to be challenging from pixel spot here, trying to find that man on the window. Not going to have any joy here. It looks like the shield has been cleared out as well by the Carly. We've seen Alems bringing that operator quite a lot recently. Got a good few kills with the sniper rifle yesterday, and will be looking for more. Likafak just going in, taking down utility for fun at the minute. Joystick unable to really move too much to do anything about that. I think Shyko just taking a little bit of damage there. I'm not sure what that came in from. Potentially one of those impact nades, I think, just coming through.
Obviously, March has been trying to look for these long-range fights. It was only last round that he was on the other end of this engagement. He was the one sat inside a cocktail being challenged, I believe it was by Always. Ultimately, Shyko not winning out. And in fact, no, it was Joystick or Dan, but didn't manage to win out in that situation. Here, moving his way down towards Red, sees the cross, but even he can't react that fast, Tim.
Unusual for Shyko to be behind the pace. He's usually preempted that movement. You know, he's a couple of rounds ago, he knows that Joystick's going to run across that doorway, but will not pick it up here. Alems is trying to get aggressive moving in. Difficult to challenge those angles with the sniper rifle, though. May want to flip to the secondary. Shyko is going to pick up the opener onto Shepard, and as you say, there's time could be a real factor here. Moving into Piano, still a lot of work to do. Shyko picks up a second. Is this going to be the start of Shyko's kill frenzy?
Do they know about the freezer play? It looks like Shyko at least has got an idea here as Renshiro moves in. Shyko's found his man. Kill frenzy and a half. Tim is onto a 3 in the round, trying to find himself a 4th and a 5th. Has no idea where they are, and Always has dodged everything inside of the smoke. Going to be able to get away with the disruption here, but Shyko rounds the back, gets the shutdown, finds a 4K in the round, Tim. Oh, we're off to the start of something special for Shyko here on the attacking side. Only time will tell, but it feels like we just witnessed some magic in that first round.
The thing is, you say, you know, the start of something special, but there comes a point where it's not really special anymore.
Yeah, you know, he's walking 4Ks. I'm bored of seeing Shyko get 4Ks now. Said no one ever, Tim.
It's not that it's not special for me to watch. It's the fact that it's, you know, it becomes that it's not a special performance from Shyko. It's just the norm. And that is a terrifying thing. You know, that it is absolutely no surprise whatsoever to watch Shyko walk through a site and get 4 kills and to just think this is going to possibly be the start of him just absolutely dominating this half of the game, and he'll just go on and walk through the attack and just win it for BDS.
Whew. Okay. Could very well march them through to this first map win. It is their map pick, but I'd take BDS going into a clubhouse map. I know, again, Parker said it the other day when he was casting with Fabian, it's the classic don't take Russians to clubhouse, all that kind of good stuff, but I also don't really fancy taking BDS there at the moment, to be honest with you. We've seen them played a couple of times lately. They are quite a terrifying prospect on it. Dare I say, could almost turn out to be a 2-0 if BDS keep on this current pace.
Well, this is it. I mean, we did see them on there yesterday. It was 7-4 to M&M. BDS just struggled a little bit, particularly on the attack. It was a very strange game. It was sort of all or nothing for both sides. It was, you know, BDS would get 4 rounds in a row, M&M would get 5 rounds in a row, and it just sort of bounced backwards and forwards. It was a little bit of a strange one. So I would expect to see maybe a slightly more consistent performance out of BDS, but it will have to be because VP will be very, very good on Clubhouse. It wouldn't surprise me at all to see this go to Oregon, but I wouldn't fancy taking on BDS on Oregon to decide a match. I'll be honest, you know, any of the maps where Shyko has a spot named after him, which seems to be getting more and more at this point, you know, you've got to worry about that a little bit.
Absolutely. It's just absolute magic when he gets going. And they said we want to see the rest of BDS up alongside him. Leakifak having a great day today. I remember there's certain points in history where Leakifak has really set the world on fire, really looking very Shyko-esque, while Shyko sort of faded into the background at points. Is that a quiet stage overall, I'd wager? Not quite being the standout performer that he's been historically, and I say the man gets put in the dirt. Classic, a bit of cursing going on there. But so far in this series, it's been looking pretty good. 1 for 1 so far, then with 2 minutes still to play. Plenty of opportunity here for BDS to make this happen, but equally for VP to stonewall them.
Ranchero manages to take down the Solus, but not before a lot of the damage is done. They are down to 5 drones now. Not the end of the world, but you might like a few more, given that there's more than half of the round to go. BDS continuing to work up above now. They've got control up there.
Nice.
But Dan, he's got a well-placed cat can heading into Freezer. And Ranchero, it's not going to be picked up on droning, and he's going to get taken down. But here we go again. Shyko picks up Pasha. He's working from White Stairs.
He said, I didn't break the record yesterday, I can do it today, no problem at all. Finds the one as the watch him on stairs. Dancing around a lot though, it's the mobility that I love, and I spoke about Mowgli earlier, wanting to try and put on his best Shyko cosplay. It is about that aggression and the constant movement that really keeps the other side guessing as to what's coming, but Shyko knows sort of when to stop. Mowgli sometimes pushes it a little bit far, but Shyko just always seems to be right place, right time, and completely unpredictable.
Just going to be waiting on this angle. We've got one either side. Alems always. Alems has to take the initiative here. Always can stand there for the next 45 seconds.
But
no
he knows
problem.
He's there now.
He's going to open up a rotate, but actually dips away from that position. So, as you say, it does give away his location, but he's coming back now. There could be an opportunity for Alems to catch him out. And what a game of cat and mouse we've got here.
Or for always to catch out Alems. You know, the reason why he's watching the flooring is he expects to see the rotate down through that hallway. And why wouldn't he? They step in, great cover from Shyko above, and always is going to find a Lems. That's the stinger, because now they can't play inside of snow. They're forced inside of sight. They're exposed to the verticals. The shot comes on through. How on earth has he found that as BDS was about to complete? Virtus.pro strike with what? A few milliseconds left and managed to convert the round. Another close one for the Bucks, Tim.
Great shot from Shepard there. That's just showing probably about 10 million hours of experience of playing in and around sites for Shepard there, knowing exactly where the angle was through that soft wall.
You know what it is? He's been shot in that angle so many times that he just knows where the default plant is going to be, and he's like, you know what? This is sweet revenge for all those times.
I do not doubt for 1 second that Shepard knew exactly what he was doing and what he was going for there. And as I say, you know, definitely for my money, one of the best site players in all of Siege when it comes to the defense. You know, really does have a great commanding presence on site and showing exactly where they're, just knowing every angle, every corner, every way that he can get that done. Interesting technique from Pasha there. A couple of Capcan traps are on that door, one either side. It's an interesting technique. Obviously, you've got the stack. You can put more than one on a door frame or window frame now, but often they'll all get put on the same side. But I like the idea of one either side, occasionally mixing that up, because, you know, quite often you'll move in, you shoot a Capcan trap off one side of a door, you think, oh, right, that's the trap cleared, and on you go. And it absolutely would not surprise. You're only going to hit them with one of them, but it wouldn't surprise me to see that catch somebody out.
Absolutely, still plenty of chance, and we'll see how things play out then as we go into round number 9. Really needed to see some more explosiveness from BDS, I think, in that last round. I know it came down to being pretty close at the bitter end of things, but it's getting a little bit scrappy in these closer rounds now, and you can see VirtusPro just crawling their way back on that defensive side. Sure, it's still a couple more rounds to go, and for me, this is that pivotal round. If BDS win this one out, they've got 3 straight chances of figuring this one out. They're going to have to see VirtusPro rotate through an offsite, and BDS can close it out. VirtusPro win here. They're within striking distance. They're 1 round shy. And that's when you start feeling a bit nervous as BDS that actually overtime could well be on the way, despite you being up 5-2 just a round or 2 ago.
Well, I'm just going to start opening up those angles from above. Absolute just buckets of time left on the clock. Usually we'd be looking about the halfway mark to be opening that ceiling up above the defenders, but they are way ahead of that marker here, just within the first minute of the round, starting to open up the verticals. Leakerfact going to be giving information back in more than anything. Not too desperate to clear out any utility, I think, but knowing that somebody's playing inside a coat check, he saw one at long bar as well. It's going to be some critical information as Renshiro continues to rip up floorboards up above, and you can see now the defenders pretty much completely forced out of sight. That will have been a pre-placed nitro, I think, that goes off below his feet. Doesn't quite get the kill, but it does leave Renshiro looking seriously worse for wear.
It does, but he's still on his feet and still has 2 nades in back pockets. There's still much that he can achieve in this round in helping his team out. Away goes the Warden shield. Good spot to be in. Difference here as well in playstyle, where you have Ride normally sat behind the shield on the smoke. Here, though, it's Dan sat behind the shield on the Warden, so he can't be flashed out. No smoke can block his sight line, and he should be able to find a couple of easy kills if they do come dropping on through. But I imagine at this point, BDS are very aware that he's sat here and know they have to do something about him. That something could be Shyko as he starts to round the corner, but could also get swung from bar. As you can see, another player sat on front desk.
Yeah, VirtusPro set up pretty well here. Dan manages to pick up the kill onto Breedy. Going to get himself a second. No, nice. Lem's finding a beautiful reverse angle. That might just take the leash off Shyko a little bit as well. Out comes the impact nade and takes what little health the Lems has left, though. And that is going to drop the diffuser down in no man's land. And they're going to rue not clearing VIP as always. Shuts down Shyko. Leakerfact moving round. He knows there's one at long bar, but he's got to be careful of sight. Misses his shots. Shepard shuts him down with just 1 HP left to his name there, I think. 14 seconds left to go. It's very unlikely that Renshiro picks anything up here.
Absolutely not. I mean, really, in a spot there where VP have just completely stonewalled that approach. I said that they knew they needed to deal really with the player that was inside of VIP, and the attempt at dealing with him was to drop the hatch and try and take the firefight. At first, they looked completely unaware that he was there, and the second one came through. Did manage to get the response, but they just had answers at seemingly every single turn and always had more bodies to throw at the problem. A good defense from VirtusPro. BDS flagging there towards the end of that round as he looked a little bit stuck. Now, Tim, we find ourselves in that situation I spoke about 2 minutes ago. That 5-4 scoreline, VirtusPro very much within striking distance. One more round and they guarantee at the very least we get all 12 here on Cafe.
We knew that this was always going to be a close matchup. As we said coming in, there's a lot at stake, you know, one way or another for both of these teams. You know, less technically so for VirtusPro, but they said themselves, this to them is about beating BDS. It's about, you know, overcoming a bit of a mental block they've got against this team. So there's plenty there for VirtusPro as well. So no surprise to see them both going absolutely tooth and nail for this one. It is bar and cocktail, top floor hold to come out from from Virtus.pro now. Much better last couple of defenses. I think BDS, you know, you said it, there's just, you wanted to see a bit more explosiveness from them. And I think that's what they struggled with a little bit there. They get, you know, they send 2 down the hatch. Lems gets the kill onto Dan inside of VIP, but always is then able to, on the Legion, move up into VIP and just take that spot back and keep fighting from there. And what I think they need is some real commitment there. As soon as that player is dead and Lems says, right, VIP is clear, somebody needs to go in and be claiming that ground, move through into dining, challenge Longbar, prevent everybody moving back through, and then you can play Freezer confidently. And it was just something that they weren't able to do for one reason or another. So we head then into the action phase. 30 seconds in, it's round 10. We haven't had anybody coming together yet. Virtus.pro have certainly been a little bit more sort of cautious when it's come to the peaking. Lems was there every single round, it seemed, but Virtus.pro, they've just been a little bit more easygoing.
Just hoping that he's peeking his head up at the wrong point there as well. For Lems, pre-places this shot right. Dan's head is gone from his shoulders, but really they want the shield gone. I think he's just missed it on the gadget as well. He's dying to get rid of the shield, but the challenge from Dan is a bit heavy right now. Has the second one bearing down on him, knows this is a bit risky, and Shyko really caught in no man's land there. Stood in the open inside of storage once that soft wall had been blown away, and he's all too easy to pick up.
That's it.
Sorry, not Shyko.
Shyko, right place, right time, essentially, just getting aggressive and moving in, just going to burn out that laser gate as well so that he can push through directly into Bar and Shiro. Sorry?
I love hearing you say that.
I'm sure you do. You can stop ringing me at 2 in the morning asking me to say it now.
It's my alarm.
Always is going to pick up Shyko with a beautiful long shot, though, 4 versus 4. And again, this feels maybe like BDS getting that kill, but not being able to take the ground with it, just not being able to push forward. And that's Virtus.pro just being resolute, really. What a flick from Shepard! Sit down, Leaker. Beautiful stuff.
I mean, he was crouched, so basically sat down already there. Tim moving in nice and slow. And I think Shepard got a good look of his shoulder before he even realised what was going on, or his knee as well. To had the preemptive strike there, essentially going into that gunfight. Now Dan's the one looking in a little bit of hot water, a bit of hot bother. Sure, no wall opened up at this point, but knows that he's going to be getting some pressure coming in from these members of BDS. One nice and close coming in behind him. It is a Lems here, round in the corner and finding his man for free. They had zero idea that he crawled his way through Piano and got into such a pivotal position. Now a Lems, he can do a lot of damage if he finds the shots, but always does not miss.
I'm just not sure it's the gun to be challenging with on that angle when you've already taken some damage. You're always going to be beaten to the punch on fire rate, and always does exactly that. It's up to Shepard and Joystick now, though, in a 2 versus 2. 13 seconds left to go. They are up above, but the information is there. Shepard is going to be amongst them. 1 versus 1 now. It's Brede versus Joystick. Joystick can play from below. Brede has to go in and look for the kill. The time is going to tick down a fraction of a second short for Brede, as Joystick just about manages to keep himself safe, and that takes us to 5-5. We're getting a minimum of 12.
Whoo! I spoke about it at 5-2, that it could swing back and we would be guaranteed to see all 12 rounds, and that's exactly what we have been gifted. And what a gift it's turning into, Tim. Back and forth this game when it looked like BDS were far out in the lead. Just completely transpires that, no, BP are still very much in the conversation. Really hard to call which way this will go. Would not be shocked at all for us to see overtime, because there's been a couple of close rounds here that realistically, BDS can get one more on the board, and that will send us through to overtime.
I mean, at the minute, I've got to ask the question. Normally, if you said to me, you know, without watching these first 10 rounds, you said, right, it's 5-all, Tim, it's BDS on Cafe. Can they get 1 round to guarantee overtime? I'd say absolutely. Of course they can. It's BDS on Cafe. But you've got to look at the fact that VP have now won 3 rounds in a row. They've done a complete defensive rotation, and they've really been getting into their stride. Like I said, BDS have just not been able to aggress into them. The push into VIP, they were unable to claim the ground. The push across top floor after Shyko got that opening kill, always 20 seconds later trades it back from Cocktail, and they're unable to take that entire top floor comfortably. Even when they were at a point of trying to think about planting, they still weren't in complete control, and Virtus.pro have done a very, very good job of frustrating BDS here, I think, more than anything. And if they can continue doing that, honestly, I see a world where Virtus.pro get these last 2 rounds and take it 7-5.
Cool. Well, just as a quick refresher for those maybe who have just tuned in a little bit late, welcome. We are into our second best of the 3 of the day between BDS and VirtusPro. It sits at 5-5 on BDS's map pick, with VirtusPro on the defensive side of Cafe. We have just had a quick crash out there, so we reloading back into the game in just a second. But at this point, it is so hard to separate who are currently the 2 best teams that we have got here in the European League. And we just don't know which way it's going to go. It's so difficult to call. What I'm enjoying, though, Tim, during this break is seeing Leaky Fact's expressions. He still looks pretty full of beans, despite maybe his performance yesterday maybe not being up to scratch. Today, he's having a much better time of things.
I always love to watch Renshiro as well during the games, particularly. We've commented on it before, but he's like, you know, he's obviously like a really quiet guy. Is Renshiro, really nice guy, and he very much looks like that. You know, during the tactical timeouts, everything else. I tell you what, you win a game though, you win a big round, and you keep an eye on Renshiro. He goes absolutely wild. It's like 0 to 100. I love it.
Whew. Back into things in just a minute, so bear with us. For now, you can enjoy, as we said, staring at the faces of these players. What I loved yesterday was, the thing I commented on it at the time was Shyko spoke English in chat, and I was just like, well, that never happens. Normally extremely quiet as a character, you know, he's not the kind of guy you'd see giving interviews, for example, but was having a little bit of banter with Eminem, who were target banning him every single game. We saw the Iana bans coming through, we saw Legion target bans coming at him. It still didn't stop him dropping 43 kills, so it just goes to show, doesn't matter what you ban against him, he's still going to pop off.
Looks like we've got 9 players back now. Joystick Wander's back into the room to join us for our 10th. I think we're probably in a position of just loading back in by the looks of things, guessing, you know, from expressions and from what players are doing and how they're positioning themselves. So I think we'll be getting back underway very, very soon. As a reminder for anybody that's joined, we are on Cafe. This is map 1 of our grand final here in EU. You may be forgiven for thinking, well, you know, they're just playing for seeding at the major. Both teams have qualified, but there is a lot more on the line than that. BDS missing out on that major in stage 1 has left them with a big deficit when it comes to SI points. So of course there are more SI points to be gained by getting the top spot, by winning this game. Not by a huge amount, but anything, any extra bit that BDS can get at the minute is going to help them to try and get themselves into the SI come February, which is of course you know, the goal for all of these teams, as well as that Atlanta major that they've already made. So there is plenty to play for here, and it looks, I think, like we're going to be getting underway very, very shortly to see who comes out on top. But it is 5-5 at the minute in map 1. VP taking 3 rounds in a row from 5-2 down to bring things back to a level pegging, and they look very, very good for it as well.
They do, and it's probably worth also highlighting that previous game that we had today, because that was equally very, very fun. Wolves, you know, really stomping their way past. If you enjoy watching throws, then my God, is Oregon the map you need to go and watch.
It was entertaining.
Yeah. Eminem throwing a 4v1, a 2v1, and a 3v1, I want to say. Just not the kind of stuff you want to see in Oregon. And then on Chalet, they absolutely breeze their way past Eminem. And it's not to say that Eminem are now out. They've got the LCQs to fight their way through. But I know, like on the desk, they were saying realistically, Eminem can beat every single team in that tournament. I just feel it's so risky to write off a bunch of tier 3 or tier 2 teams who have just really got a point to prove and a lot of evidence they can, you know, look back over like previous games that Eminem have played on stream and see how they approach things and really find an answer to that.
Absolutely. The thing as well, it's interesting the maps that we're getting brought to as well. I think Fresh commented it, you know, the pre-game. There's maps now that are sort of being kept on the back burner. Obviously, eyes do head towards those major games that are going to be coming up very soon. I do have game sound in my ears. I'm not sure if you do, but I do
indeed.
By you, I meant you at home rather than Des. I knew that Des would, given that we have the same sounds in our ears. But
I just thought you really cared about me then, Tim, but thanks for that.
No, I didn't. Don't you worry about that. We're going to be getting back into game. It's 5-5. We're going to see all 12. VirtusPro on the defense, and they will be taking us to Reading Room for round 11.
Indeed, we are. See how things play out down here. Expect to see VP heading upstairs as well and getting some things set up. Bulletproof cam dropped down behind the table here. Quite a cheeky spot to be in, actually, as well. Broken behind the chair. Debris from, well, players often disappears, and client-side debris will disappear, but Apparently destroyed things on the floor, maybe not. Still might see quite a bit of information with that bulletproof down on that second floor. Otherwise, it is going to be this move onto the top floor, as I commented a second ago, getting themselves set up here, a few reinforcements, a few rotations opened up, all with that goal of just slowing BDS down, who you assume will start around Red Hatch in terms of taking control of piano and things like that. But even with a few holes coming in below, it feels like VP want to be challenging around Train as well. So basically controlling the entirety of the second floor and the third floor here, making BDS fight for every single inch of this map in exactly the same fashion that BDS did back in the first half.
Dan just scurrying away there as bullets ricocheted off the window frame around him. He was thinking about a little peek out of there. It was something that I commented VirtusPro haven't really committed to too heavily, but that shows exactly why BDS switched on to the danger and having absolutely none of it. Shyko has been able to get into the map quite quickly here and is going to be heading straight up Red Staircase. That could put him in a funny position, really, because it's the sort of position as VirtusPro you might not expect him to be so quickly. And if he just holds down that double door, maybe moves himself up and gets a little bit aggressive so he can hold into the actual corridor, he could well pick himself up a freebie as somebody rotates.
Ooh. I mean, BDS has been sat on drones this whole time as well, just helping Shyko get through the ground floor. He was checking out kitchen while Shyko was pushing his way up towards red. And then Shyko paused halfway up so BDS could then figure out what was going on inside a train, and he lost his drone to Always. So now Shyko is aware, albeit a little bit blind. They also had a little bit of assistance from Alems playing on the DKB as well. But at this point, they know loosely what's going on. Now they've just got to try and figure this player out who's inside of train, remove him, which is why you've now got a couple of players working in, and there he is found out. Alems on the window. Great bit of team play again from BDS.
Yep, fantastic stuff. Alems taking out Always for the opener. Gives BDS a little advantage, but VirtusPro certainly haven't been scared at playing from man disadvantage so far. They do still have vertical superiority to VirtusPro, so they can use that to defend the site as well. As we saw previously when BDS attacked this site, they did want to look for that top floor clearance. It seems like they're not really worrying about it too much this time, and maybe going a little bit more directly towards site with a minute left to go.
As they should be as well, yeah. Still a bit of time to play with here. They've already found themselves the entry. They can start moving with a little bit more fluidity, a little bit more aggression, and really now they've got this downstairs control. Although they're right next to the site, they're still really turning their attention skywards and looking for those players that undoubtedly are going to be sat above trying to play on those vertical angles. So that's the point they've sort of left shy a little bit, is worrying about upstairs, but they're saying, well, who cares about upstairs? We can nade it from below.
Shyko will do exactly that. Now, a little bit unfortunate there. The Selma charge has just left a bar across, which could make it difficult. They can't move in through that position now, or not with ease at least. Shepard does manage to find Shyko. Big kill for VirtusPro. 24 seconds left to go, and the clock becomes a really important factor at this point because BDS are not in a position to plant, and they may have to start rushing in. Pasha goes for a little challenge on the door. Needs to be more careful than that as Alems manages to find a great headshot, and that honestly could be the difference maker in the round here. It's going to give them access to potentially put the diffuser down. 5 seconds left to go. Brede is doing exactly that. VirtusPro not in a position to be able to hold them off from above here, and it's now up to the retake.
They really had to be more aggressive on the retake upstairs. They wanted to play the verticals, but just didn't have enough time to commit to get the control they needed. But now VirtusPro have got to battle their way back in. 2 versus 4. BDS in full control. They've played this round out so well from start to finish. Not engaging directly on the top floor, but playing from below with nades and just playing around the vertical holes that have been opened up. It's absolutely beautiful stuff, and VP just looked completely caught blind by it, essentially. 2 quick kills come back in. He's got to find the rest, but no idea about Brede to the left. And BDS, 6-5, map point.
Much better round from BDS there. You just feel like that technical pause maybe doing them a bit of a favour, just giving them an opportunity to get inside the thoughts a little bit and, you know, figure out for themselves what's gone wrong and, you know, just apply a different tack coming back. And that's exactly what they've done. BDS, a better round there, 6-5, and you sort of feel like maybe that's just put them back on course. There was a point where VirtusPro had strung 3 rounds together and BDS were really on the back foot, and had it just carried on straight through, you look at that and think there's maybe an opportunity for VirtusPro to close it out, but BDS certainly looking back to their best attacks there. It was clinical, really. As you say, just not really worrying about that top floor. if VirtusPro are going to hold on to the top floor, that's great, but they have to be in a position to deny that plan. Otherwise, there's no point holding the top floor. They didn't stop BDS getting into sight from there. They didn't stop them putting the diffuser down from there. So at that point, BDS have made completely the right call. That gamble of saying, nah, don't worry about top floor, just playing towards sight, has paid off, because what did VirtusPro do with it, really?
Yeah, real mastermind there from BDS to get it over the line. But now we're down inside of the kitchen, and BDS, they really struggled attacking this site last time. They had a player dropping blind in towards Freezer, who was sprayed down by Dan inside of VIP. Shyko got domed as well. Sure, the second player coming in through the Freezer drop did get rid of Dan, but was quickly dealt with as well. So BDS have got to change up their tune a little bit here, and I feel like they've done just that. Look at who's coming along to the party. It's BDS on the Monty. We saw a lot of this yesterday, and it was extremely effective.
Yeah, I think you want to get a round over the line. You want to get a game finished when it's been tough and you're in round 12. Bring along the Monty at the minute, at least. It's certainly proving effective for a number of teams, and we know how good BDS can be on those shields. So for the time being, Renshiro is going to be into the top floor. It's going to be a complete map clearance then for BDS. I would imagine the Monty will likely play one of two places. I was just going to say at the bottom of White Stairs, looking for a push in through Freezer or in through Bakery, but given that they're going for the top floor and the entire map clearance, less likely that BDS will be pushing into Bakery. It looks like it's going to be a lot of attention towards Freezer.
It does indeed. I mean, why wouldn't you? You want to keep it short and sweet when you're playing in with the Monty. Keep it nice and close to the site itself. Normally Bakery's the go-to, but as you acknowledge, it's coming in towards that Freezer side. Getting this on the wall here opens up mainly a hole downstairs. As you can see, the explosion carries on through, and it's just like putting it on the ground. Gives you a lovely angle through, and from here, they can play directly in towards Freezer, or can play through to that doorway that rotates in between the two sites. So LM's making use of the breaching charges here to make sure they've got all the angles they need, whilst BDS gets to work preparing for the drop. And I think this is a great read, because realistically, Legion is the main thing here that can slow them down. Staring against a shield, if he drops in first, Dan's going to have absolutely zero effect. No C4, for example, to toss. No smoke on side. It's a really good read from BDS, and it could be what makes the difference.
That's unfortunate. Great play from Leakafak, enabled that nade to find its way in towards the shield, but it didn't bounce back far enough off the wall, I don't think. And it's just left that shield still intact. Shyko, no more explosives to be able to deal with that utility. So it's once again going to be difficult for BDS to clear out VIP. This might not be over yet.
Shyko's been here for so long. He's so patient as well, just waiting for the team play to start happening, and here come we go. BDS inside of sight. He can feed the information as they all come scattering back in. He's a little bit isolated here is the problem, though. He could be in a world of danger, and danger he is in. A 3v2, making a 2v2 as Shepard hits the deck. It's Dan inside of VIP, and always currently set elsewhere around the map, potentially looking to do some work inside of sight itself.
Just no aggression possible from Shyko here. You can see he's had to relocate to try and get something going from the hatch, and again it's that failure to deal with VIP that has cost BDS here. Renshiro's going to drop the hatch. Challengers coming from the same position once again. Dan is now free to move back into sight to help his teammate if he wishes, but always has got the read here. He knows where the push is coming from, can't do anything about it, but nor can Renshiro. Dan keeps himself alive. VP take the round, and we're going to overtime, Des.
Oh, been waiting to hear that one today, Tim, and yesterday, really. Indeed, we are. Again, so hard to separate these two teams with how close it's been, and I can't really call which way it goes here in the second half. Sure, BDS starting on the defensive side, you look at and say maybe, but we've seen attacks also come off absolutely wonderfully for Virtus.pro when they haven't played into the really aggressive game coming out from BDS. They sit back a little bit, they let BDS work their shenanigans, they slowly massage and corral them back in towards the site, and that is how VP have come out on top.
Well, this is it. You know, they figured that out in round 4, essentially. They do the first 3 rounds, as I sort of described it at the time, VirtusPro got caught up in this maelstrom of BDS aggression. But they figured it out come round 4 and just got themselves playing their own game. And as soon as they did that, they won 2 out of 3 rounds on the attack. So this might not be as clear-cut as it looks. You know, putting BDS back on the defense. Yes, they won that half 4-2, but VirtusPro certainly finished stronger than they started on the attack. So there's a real chance for them here. They're going to be attacking onto top floor. They know that Elems is likely going to play inside of Piano again, I think, if that's exactly where he is at the minute on stage. Not likely to play as aggressively because he was a focus for VirtusPro to deal with last time.
He was, and he's had his fun, I think, today, and now VP will be very conscious of the sort of game that he's trying to play. So I am with you. I think changing that play style a little bit, still being aggressive, but a little more passive is definitely the way to go. Still be wasting time, still be looking to pick off drones, for example, no doubt with the assistance of Shyko on the Solus that we've seen for the majority of this map. And in fact, really overall, the comp is very mobile from BDS. Maybe they do want to stay aggressive. Shyko almost finding his man. Just sees Pasha playing off onto the other side, but now knows that he's got no chance of getting that. Claymore is down outside that window.
Again, shots exchanged, but no damage will be done at this point. A little bit tentative, is always the case when you get in towards overtime. Neither team wants to lose it as much as they want to win it, and it just puts you sometimes in this little bit of a position of flux, waiting for somebody to make the move. Pasha on that rappel tries to get the drone in. We'll get little information other than it was shot from somewhere inside of Piano, yeah. Probably Pixel, but it really doesn't help too much, so Dan needs to double up and get a drone in there just to try and get the read. Leakerback playing underneath, as he has done throughout, really, on this site, supported by Shyko, and that's something Virtus.pro may need to deal with.
Waiting for the alley-oop onto the window, maybe, as soon as someone comes on to play it. Not a bad spot to be in. The VP have been all over the drones so far in this round, just really looking to sniff out what's going on. Still got a couple more Roteros to work with as well. More here for the information gain than anything else, I'd imagine. They know, of course, there's going to be a player sat back towards Cocktail, just blowing up the desk as well, so no one can easily play in behind that, and that will force Renshiro down towards the south, and arguably a little bit closer towards this window. That is why BDS are ready and waiting with that C4, though, to use when they need.
Coming in towards the real meat of the round at this point. Final minute we find ourselves in, still 5 versus 5. Nobody been able to break the deadlock, but that suits BDS down to the ground. The longer that they can keep everybody alive, the better. Renshiro just waiting for that push to come through. Cigar manages to avoid the nade that was sent in from Heaven Window, keeps his feet planted, but Dan manages to find the kill onto him, just looking for that angle. Brede finds Pasha. This is where it starts. Dan does get slowed down by a goo mine there. 30 seconds left to go. Virtus.pro need to get moving, and they need to be aware of the flank that's coming up white stairs.
That's the thing, there's just so many chances to stab them in the back a little bit here. Dan's done a good bit of work, but Brede was tucked inside a Lumber, is now managing to move himself. You've got a Lems coming up to do some damage at the same time. Sure, not Lems, sorry, Leakerback as well, sorry, trying to rotate his way up white. Bit of a team kill coming in, not ideal. Can still be done, but no, Joystick finds his man. Now they move up on towards match point with a great close to the round. All really enabled by Dan inside a bathroom, finding 2 big long-range kills.
You feel like VP are going to be ecstatic if they can take Cafe here away from BDS.
Oh, huge.
It's a map that BDS are so well known on, are so good on, and Virtus.pro, you know, as we said, openly coming into this saying, we want to beat BDS. We've got a bit of an axe to grind, really. You know, we need to be overcoming this problem that we've had against that team. So going in and taking one of their maps away from them before going to Clubhouse is going to be big. But we did have the click of the timeout request there. I think it was maybe just made a little bit late. So we will play on for the time being. I think it was probably just beyond the time that it could be requested. So down to kitchen we go. BDS on the attack.
Yes, got to figure this one out from here. We'll find out in just a moment. I think there's going to be a rehost coming in, though, so they do still get that tactical timeout, and then we'll be able to get back into things. I mean, understandably, BDS want this chance here to have the conversation. They're left with no more lives, no overtime, no extra rounds they can give away here. And not forgetting, Tim, about 20 minutes ago, we were talking about the 5-2 scoreline and just saying, at this point, you know, this next round really is going to be the difference maker. And sure enough, VP just ground their way back in. 3 rounds back-to-back, brought us to 5-5, and now look at where we stand.
BDS, of course, as we've said, wanting to get this win because every position that they move up, so by winning this and coming first overall in EUL, they get more SI points. This is all about SI qualification for them in February. They're already going to the Atlanta Major. Any seeding, you know, that may be gained, yep, I'm sure that's fantastic as well coming into the tournament. But having missed Copenhagen in stage 1, BDS really do need to be locking in every single point that they can grab a hold of. So it is a very, very important round for them coming up. There's been some serious discussion there. We saw it straight away at the beginning of this TAC timeout, and they're going to be hoping that they can turn things around.
Absolutely. And sure enough, we'll have that TAC timeout in just a moment once we get back into things. For now, I imagine during this downtime, not so much allowed, but We'll be back into things in just a moment. Everyone's run away. Poor Joystick left pretty much all by himself.
It'll be okay. It'll be okay.
Contemplating life there.
The rest of VirtusPro just coming back in now. Obviously at boot camp and all able to play together, which you know
lovely.
we do see. We sort of see differing results from. Occasionally we do see the teams do this and they have that opportunity, and sometimes it's a huge positive for the teams. I think VirtusPro have been playing very well under those conditions, but sometimes it doesn't always have that it doesn't translate to such a big advantage. But right now it's not really making too much of a difference overall in terms of the scoreline. It's 7-6. There's absolutely nothing to separate these two teams. It's been close throughout. BDS did get themselves a decent lead built up, but VirtusPro were able to rein them back in pretty quickly to 5-5, and then we saw ourselves go through to overtime. 7-6 it stands at the minute, so when we load back in after this timeout, we will have VirtusPro taking to the defense, and they will have a map point opportunity.
It will. It's been, as we said a couple of times, just a real back and forth affair. And what I've enjoyed about today, I think largely across both series, is the way teams have just figured each other out the longer it's gone on. We saw it a little bit between Wolves and M&M, where they were just adapting a little bit to the way they were playing, where M&M were kind of pushing into Wolves as Wolves were getting ready for an execute, because they knew that Wolves' playstyle was to be kind of very slow and ready for the early parts of the round. Not necessarily slow, pretty quick at getting themselves in spot, but then all executing at the same time and causing chaos. So they're trying to aggress into them. Wolves responded to that by being a little more passive, really, and not feeding anything to M&M or giving them a chance. And just that constant evolution in that series was fun to see. In this one, it's felt very, very similar, where they've just changed small things across the rounds where certain players are playing. They've tried to be a bit cheeky by playing from below on the attacking side, for example, BDS. There's just always been a new problem to solve in each round. And seeing the kind of strategical back and forth, for me, is one of my favorite parts of Siege. All the small things that change across rounds is what keeps it really fresh and fun.
Almost there then. We're heading back in any second. We have had a scoreboard reset. Don't worry, we haven't joined at round one. It is 7-6, but we've had a couple of rehosts along the way, and that does generally result in the scoreboard being reset, depending on exactly how it's done and whether the lobby is remade or not. But we will be heading down to Kitchen. We saw VirtusPro aiming to defend down there before we skipped out to the rehost, so they will continue down there. We've got the Echo on side for Shepherd. I mention that now because maybe it won't be the case, but we've seen yokai drones win rounds and win games in this site more times than I care to remember, and I've just got a little feeling that yokai, or both of them, could be quite impactful in this round. So certainly keep your eye on that at home.
Alrighty, here we go. The number of rounds that we've seen ruined by yokai drones on the attacking side. It could be the heartbreaker in just 3 minutes' time, as you say. Let's see when it comes down to it. For me, looking on towards the attacking side of things, again, our reminder has always been the VIP. What have BDS brought this time round? Not a Monty. Instead, it's going to be a Capitao. The battle, Tim, is it's a Warden. By design, literally there to counter smokes and flashes. So bringing along a smoke here necessarily not going to be the right thing for them. If they can get the fire into the right place, different conversation. But it does mean getting Bride into a spot where he's somewhat exposed to Dan to be able to hit that kind of shot. So let's keep a really close eye on that again. That, for me, is going to be the difference maker.
Droning is coming in. BDS with a reasonably careful approach here, just pinging out utility and just making sure everything's clear before they move in. Don't want to give anything away too easily, but definitely looking to deal with VIP. Dan is in position to hold that off. You said it's a battle to watch out for. It's something that they've not been able to do so far. So close for Dan. Doesn't quite find his man, but will continue trying. The thing is, they've continually tried to push this position from the bottom of White Stairs. It hasn't worked, so I like that BDS are trying something different, but I think they're realising now that
honestly,
they're playing in towards a Warden, and the flashes are making no difference. Always picks up one, Dan picks up another. It's 5 versus 3.
It's not that they haven't tried to aggress on that side, but every single round, Virtus.pro have stuck one player on front desk and one on bar to support Dan specifically. But here, Dan's defending himself for all intents and purposes as a run out comes on through as well. Shyko going low. It looks like it's going from bad to worse. Shyko at least slowly starting to pull it back, but even he can't deal with the rounding coming in from Pasha. Renshiro in a good spot. Put down, I believe, by a Goomine there off the back of it as well. Brede is all that stands between Virtus.pro and a map 1. They take Cafe. They take BDS's map pick, and they take the advantage going into Clubhouse.
What a message that's been sent ahead of that second map from Virtus.pro there. They were 5-2 down at a point. BDS building themselves up a great lead, but Virtus.pro showing great resilience to get themselves back into it, take us to overtime, and then close it out inside 2 rounds. 8-6, and what a performance, taking them onto the second map of Clubhouse. This could be done quickly if BDS don't wake up.
It could, but it was the fact that it went to overtime still. This could have been a different conversation we're having right now if a couple of rounds had gone differently. I don't think BDS is strictly out of this yet, but the critical error in that map, we spoke about it in that last round. Dan inside of VIP